Good morning, Namaste. This is Reverend Bobby, and I'm talking to you from Medford, Oregon. And we're about to have a beautiful experience here with Center for Spiritual Living in Rohr Valley. I'm so grateful to get to do this today, to join in a symbiotic relationship here with another center. I'm excited to be here with Kimberly and Reverend Dr. Kristen Hawkins. And I just want to say how wonderful it is to be here today. Also, for those of you that may not have gotten the notice, our beloved Joanne Bourgeois, passed away on Friday. And today, this service today. So I just want to say how grateful she was, at least in my own experience, and just feel that. So right now, thank you for coming. We're going to go ahead and start.
Yeah, let me go straight through here. Yes, straight.
Good morning, Namaste. For those of you who caught Bobby's introduction, it was a little noisy. And so just in case you couldn't hear it, she was talking about how our beloved Joanne Bourgeois passed away this last week. And that she is up in Medford, Oregon, about to do our combined service today. But I have the honor and privilege of doing the lead up to that for us in our meditation and a little bit of a share. But I did want to make sure that you all knew about Joanne. She did send out a special email with more information about her. For those of you that didn't know her, she was a teacher of teachers, a true mentor, and a very special friend. She pretty much trained or had some part in training most of the practitioners. She was our practitioner leader for quite a long time. And she was in the Science of Mind movement for decades, very much a mover and shaker. So today, in honor of Joanne, I'm going to share some words that she herself spoke. I transcribed them from an opening prayer for something that she taught for many years called the gift. The first part of this meditation is adapted from Julia Cameron's The Artist Way prayer, for those of you that know Julia Cameron's work. And the second part is an opening prayer that Joanne had given at one of those sessions of the gift. However, especially for those of you that didn't know Joanne, this meditation will be a very different language than I would usually use. So I want to give a brief introduction. Joanne was deeply steeped in spirituality and knowingness of the oneness that we all share. When she was teaching practitioners to pray, she was extremely strict, very, very strict about the words we used, and to make sure that we were properly expressing the principles of religious science, even though her prayers were full of things that she wouldn't allow us to say. However, as I was coming to the end of my training, she said that what was most important was the consciousness of the practitioner. And that at the beginning of my training, if I used language that implied separation, that I was most likely feeling that separation. But as my spiritual practices deepened, she knew that my consciousness was one of oneness, even when sometimes my words were not. And so I invite you to hear this meditation, to hear this prayer, to hear these words from that space of knowing our oneness, that we are each an expression of the one life and that there is no separation from us and with each other. And so as I take a breath to move into this prayer, this meditation time, I know that we come together that we may be of greater service. Take a breath and lean into this space, this knowingness, as I begin this prayer taken from Julia Cameron. We offer ourselves to you. We open ourselves to you. We surrender to you. We welcome you. We trust that you will lead us. We trust that it is safe to follow you. We ask you to unfold our lives according to your plan. Help us to believe that it is not too late, and that we are not too small or too flawed to be healed by you and through each other and made whole. Help us to love one another. Help us to know that we are not alone, that we are loved and lovable. And we ask God very specifically, what would you have us do? Where would you have us go? What would you have us say? And to whom? And once again, we ask God very specifically, what would you have us do? Where would you have us go? What would you have us say? And to whom? And we shall listen. Listen in silence for a few moments. And so together, we come to the altar. Just notice whatever image comes forward in your mind at hearing those words. We come to the altar. And we surrender this morning to the power and presence that God is. We know that it be the work of heaven itself, that our lives are enriched and empowered just out of our being together. That we are led and guided to experience an order and healing anywhere in our lives that is asking for prayer. And we know that the answer is yes, of course. And so I do surrender the morning, our full morning, full of grace. And so it is. And so good morning, Namaste. This morning is feeling very different than I anticipated with Joanne's passing. I've been mourning her quite a bit. She was a beloved teacher and mentor, and my life has forever changed because of her, as are so many others. I wanted to announce today, for those of you that don't already know, I will be moving. I'm leaving Namaste. My partner Diane and I will be moving to Oregon, living in Portland at the end of this month. So I will be here next Sunday. I'm actually going to give the talk and share next Sunday a little bit more about my journey. So I would love to have you all join. And I'll be around to the end of the month if you feel free to reach out. And obviously, we're remote anyway, so feel free to reach out any way you wish. I love you all. It's been an amazing, amazing journey at my time at Namaste. Over 20 years that I've been here. And you all are forever in my heart. This place has forever changed my life. And I'm looking forward to my next chapter up north. This has been a very odd time. I've been known that I was leaving for a while now. But leaving during COVID without being able to physically see you all is very odd. But know that I will miss you. I will come back and visit because many of my family is down here, both family of blood and of choice is down here. Very close friends I have. So I will come back and visit and hopefully see you all in your new place as we move into a new location. And it's going to be very, very odd. So, but I'm excited today to hear our three ministers. It's very interesting timing how Joanne chose to leave us the few days before Kristen and Kimberly and Bobby were all together in one place. And I invite you all to take Joanne in today, whether you knew her or not. Her love was powerful. Her love and acceptance was life-changing. It was through her that my self-recrimination and self-judgment softened as someone who I could sit with and talk to and share the things that I considered the worst about me and be loved. Absolutely loved. And so I hope that you can get that today from our ministers, from our practitioners, and from each other, for it is absolutely a gift that we can give each other to share our knowingness that in form we make mistakes, sometimes pretty bad ones. I've hurt people really badly in my life. And knowing that that does not change the divinity of who I am. And to have had Joanne to know that that does not change her love for me either. It was pretty powerful. Love is such a healing presence, such a healing power. And so I invite you to, in Joanne's honor, to extend that love to yourself this morning. For she had a strong belief and a strong knowingness in our ability and our self-knowingness of knowing what we need for ourselves, knowing that our path is what it is supposed to be, that where we are at is where we are supposed to be at. And so to soften that self-judgment and know that you are where you are supposed to be. And what a powerful, powerful presence and a powerful lesson that is. And so as we turn this over in a moment to some announcements from Chris Schreiber, I bless you all and I wish you all a wonderful, wonderful week. Hey, Chris.
Oh, hi, Deborah. Thank you so much for those beautiful words honoring Joanne. And it really touched me, and the meditation touched me, having participated in the gift with Joanne, and to receive the baton passing from you this morning, my friend, another woman who has made such a big impact on my life. So I honor you and bless you as well this morning.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you,
Thank
Deborah.
you.
And good morning, Namaste from Idaho again. And I welcome you to our beautiful service, our shared service today with three more powerful women. And Deborah's sharing really touched me because it just honors the amazing arc of people who have touched all of our lives as part of Namaste. And so this morning, I invite you, as we do each Sunday morning, as we speak our who we are statement. And Nikki, if you can bring up the first slide, please. And as we read these words together, this is the statement of Namaste, the vision statement of Namaste. And we honor and we wish to share these words with you. Nikki, are you able to bring up that slide? Please say with me, I honor the place in you in which the entire universe dwells. I honor the place in you which is love, truth, light, and peace. When you are in that place in you, and I am in that place in me, we recognize that we are one. Namaste. And just as Deborah said, that was certainly the teaching of Joanne Bourgeois. And I know, regardless of what happens in physical form, that Joanne remains right here with me because we are indeed one. Nikki, if you're able to please bring up the next slide. And if not, I'll just keep going because we are one and we all know who we are. Together at this point, we also anchor into our Namaste mission, the community mission. And this is the how of Science of Mind as part of the umbrella of Namaste. And that statement is, I learn practical science of mind tools and practice in a loving, connective, and vibrant community to reveal my power and change my life. And we do this through the series of steps where we awaken. Through this awakening, we have a realization. In this realization and the practicing of these science of mind tools, we transform. And then, as the way of life, we repeat the process over and over again. Our power statements: we are a thriving, dynamic spiritual community. We are Namaste, and this stuff works. And now I'll go through some announcements. And Nikki, if you're able to bring up the first slide of announcements, great. And if not, I'm going to just remind people that every Tuesday we have a connective time of that we call the Namaste Happy Hour. As a reminder, there will be no happy hour this Tuesday, the 14th, but please do return on July 21st, Tuesday, July 21st, for an evening of storytelling. That's going to be fun. The next slide is a reminder that every Wednesday, the third Wednesday of the month, we have a healing arts ministry called The Circle. In this time, there is deepening in various spiritual practices, but this Wednesday, the team is meeting to plan out the next 3 to 6 months. So just as a reminder, if you're on the Circle team, please plan to meet with Valerie this Wednesday for a planning. On the next slide, we would be announcing that we're having, Reverend Bobby is leading, a metaphysical Bible class beginning on July 20th. It's going to be Mondays for several weeks, 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. And what an amazing time to be exploring this sacred text and many of the words and the teachings of that sacred text and what it means to us now from a metaphysical perspective. I've heard Bobby speak on this several times, and it's very interesting. I'm reading one of the books of the class right now, What Do We Do with the Bible by Richard Rohr. And for those of you who took our last class with Richard Rohr, you'll know that he has a very unique metaphysical take on the Bible. So it's very interesting. If you're interested, email Stephanie, and all of this information is available on the website. Next up, we have choir rehearsal on Thursday nights at 6 p.m. That's done via Zoom. So if you're interested in joining the choir, please reach out to Marilee Adler or Julie Bathke. Their email addresses are available on the website. And of course, every weekday at 7 a.m., we have our amazing practitioners. Again, as Deborah said, most of whom were taught or instructed or expanded or grown by our very own Joanne. And one of the services that they provide to us all is they offer a prayer and support time Monday through Friday. On each of those mornings at 7 a.m., you can call in for a special time of prayer and connection and deepening in a spiritual practice to get your day and your week off right. That information is also available on our website. And now, as we prepare for this service, the service to come, I just honor the women that are coming forth to bring this service to you as representatives of the long arc of Namaste. And it's not lost on me that the women who started this presentation today, our service today, are women who really taught and grew me tremendously during the last 7 years. But also that we have our founding minister here today, and Kimberly Hawkins, who was a great contributor and minister for Namaste, and then passing the baton to Reverend Bobby, our current minister and our future minister. So today we have the representation of the long and impactful arc of the beauty of Namaste. And so with that, I guess we're ready to hand it over to our power trio at the Rogue Valley Center in Medford, Oregon. Here comes Rev Bobby. We're running a little bit late this morning. As you can imagine, the coordination that happens when you have two centers coming together in this digital space. So you get me for a few more minutes. And I guess during that time, I'll talk a little bit more about the learnings that I got from Joanne. I too was a participant in the gift, which was a writing and self-exploration workshop that Joanne hosted for many, many, many years. I think close to 10 years or more out of her home. And it would be a session where she would give a writing prompt and then you would write and then speak to it. It was a beautiful time of self-exploration, but in particular, I remember that during the time when you would read what you were writing, if she thought something was particularly salient for you, she would hand you a sticky note and ask you to return to that later and explore that for yourself. And she didn't just do that during that class, she did that all the time. And in that, she taught us how to be deep, deep listeners to ourselves and to listen to those places where we were being called to deeper spiritual growth. And I had this experience with her over and over and over again in the many conversations, the many classes, the many workshops that I shared with her. And it was a deep, deep time of honoring to be with her in all of those moments, just as it is to honor her right now. And as we prepare for what might be happening at the Rogue Valley, we have Deborah back with us. Hi, yes. Deborah, welcome back.
Thanks. I put the fan on me too. I forgot it's kind of warm in here. Yeah, I really liked what you were saying too about Joanne. It's just like her to pick a day when we can properly honor her too.
Yes, she was amazing at. There's my dad. Here's my dad.
Oh, hi, Dad. Hi, Chris's dad.
Yes, she was amazing at really bringing out that in people and in teaching us how to do just that. So it was yeah, just listening to you speak earlier and those words that you spoke, I remember them. And so that just touched me so deeply to hear those words again and that phrasing.
Yeah, and I think for those of you for the power of the gift, what it was, the format was she would open with that prayer, and then you would journal, and you would journal for a long time. Was it like an hour? It's a long time to journal.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then you would read from your journaling. You would only read what you were comfortable reading.
Yes.
But honestly, the more you read, the more you got out of it, because Joanne created a space where you could share the deepest things in your heart, the things you wouldn't share with anybody else. And it was safe and you were loved.
Yes.
And that is a beautiful gift. And I always try to remember that whenever I'm praying with somebody, whenever I have a practitioner session, even with friends when they're sharing, that power of listening with an open heart.
Yes.
To truly listen and to allow that person and to allow me wherever I was at, you know, the path I was on. I mean, I took a lot of detours.
Dancing is allowed.
Pretty often. So, I think we're getting back to Oregon.
Deborah, so good to talk with you today.
Yes.
Say I recognize the God in you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together.
Let's see some of you stand up.
In the name of love. Take a look at the person next to you. Say God loves you and I love you too. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, from every walk of life, every creed and color, in peace of night. Oh, we honor everybody and each other. The person next to you. Namaste, I bow to you. Feel the love in the sanctuary. Lift your voice and repeat after me. We come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love, we come together. We come together. We come together. In the name of love.
Woo! How wonderful to be here today again. I want to share, as we prepare for our invocation, a lovely poem that's written by Steve Taylor. It's entitled The Same Substance. How can we be separate when we're the same substance? Body and soul, collections of the same atoms, and channels of the same soul source. Let's be like children, whose beings are too empty to be filled with distinctions, too open to be closed off by prejudice, too fluid to be clogged up with concepts. So whole and so connected that they don't need to build a fortress of identity. What is it that separates us? Only the illusion of identity, only the illusion of separation. And so as we take this moment now to perhaps join me in closing eyes or taking a deep breath, I'm filled with the joy truly of being and basking in this day together. A day of celebration, a day, if I were to choose a word, of connection. Certainly the connection that is felt as folks in this community have been able to greet each other with a twinkle in their eyes, if not a smile on their mouths. A day in which those not only in person, but those who are blessed by the magic of our video streaming in ways of reaching out to one another and feeling that connection. But even more importantly, perhaps, a day of connection in which we remember that medium that permeates all life and all beings. That which so many have described in such beautiful words, but today I just simply feel as a thread that weaves itself in and through and as each and every one of us, that will not allow separation. No matter what the appearance, no matter what the circumstances, let us this day anchor ourselves in that beauty of the one life, the one presence, the one power, and the one love that is each and every one of us as the living Spirit God. So I bless today, I bless the gathering that happens through that magic of this universal web. And I give thanks for all of this and so much more. And so it is. Amen.
Please join us in a chant for universal compassion. From the Buddhist tradition, it's a chant to allow that compassion to emanate from us and to recreate the universe as a three-dimensional mandala of universal compassion. The words to the chant are Om, Tare Tare, Tut Tare, Tu Re Soha. Om, Tare Tare, Tut Tare, Tu Re Soha. Tare Tare, Tut Tare, Tu Re Soha. Om 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 Tare Tare, Tut Tare, Tu Re Soha.
Ture Soha, Om Tare Tare, Tutare 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 Ture Soha. I hesitate to speak until the last tone dies down. Isn't that beautiful, you guys? Thank you so much. Oh, Anton and Laura. Yeah. My message, and really it's become our message, so it's expanding, but my original message for today was come together, because we're doing it. We're coming together. And I just want to, and just remember that it's a coming together for these two as well. I first met Anton at a Asilomar. Some of you have attended our Science of Mind. We used to have our annual convention at Asilomar every year on the Monterey Peninsula, and Anton did the beautiful, beautiful music and meditation. And he lives in Mount Shasta, so when I moved up here and became senior minister, we connected, and they're now our music coordinators. How blessed are we? Thank you. So I have to have a moment. You know, I kind of wish I could see your mouths, but I can see your eyes and I can see your bodies, and it's so sweet to see you coming together. Wow, my goodness. And yet somehow during this time of isolation, we have come together, haven't we? I mean, I want to talk a little bit about how this happened, this whole joint service today. 3 weeks ago, on Sunday afternoon, I'm usually pretty tuckered. These two would remember that and agree with that. And I'm just kind of relaxing at home, and I get 3 voice messages. One from my sister, Kristen, one from Reverend Bobby, one from Kristen's wife, my wonderful sister-in-law, Deborah Scanlon. They're all together, along with Janine, Bobby's wife, plotting a trip. Bobby and Janine are in a motorhome, drinking too, dare I say that? I saw that, Kristen, I'm outing you. Yeah, they did sound a little happy on those messages. Anyway, they called and said, we're coming up to Oregon, and we're going to be there on the 12th, and we'd like to do a joint service. And I was so excited because I know a lot of you haven't seen your relatives, a lot of you, right? I hadn't seen Kristen and Deborah in over a year. So up they came, and we, Reverend Bobby's topic is the one that has been recommended for our movement. And so we're kind of tying them all in, but we're loosey-goosey. Our aim today, one of our biggest priorities today is what, you guys? Have a good time. Have a good time. Yeah. So the other theme at CSL is none are free until all are free. And really the two are intertwined, and we're going to intertwine them. So I'm just going to talk for a minute, and then I'm going to bring these two up, and we're going to do a conversation together for the message this morning. What I wanted to say is that in Buddhism, there's something called the triple gem. And it's really a concept that exists in all major faith traditions. It just isn't called the same thing. So the triple gem is three ways we can seek refuge. The Buddhists believe number 1 is the Buddha, which represents enlightenment. In our denomination, we talk a lot about Christ consciousness. the consciousness of Jesus Christ was a consciousness of knowing our oneness, oneness with the divine as the divine, and oneness with each other. The second gem in the triple gem is something called Dharma, which is truth or teaching. And certainly in Science of Mind, we're all about education, teaching spiritual principles, and living by spiritual principles. But the third gem in the triple gem is something in Sanskrit called Sangha, which means community. And community is how we remember the teachings, how we help each other practice the teachings. When I went to Reverend Kristen's church, I moved from California to Long Beach and was a staff minister at Namaste for a while, which was such a joy to be in ministry with my sister. She used to say at the beginning, I don't know the exact words, but it was something like, we come together to remind each other that we are precious and awesome beings. And that's really what Sangha is all about, isn't it? To remind each other, and even the each others that we don't particularly agree with. I love that we did the chant about universal compassion. It's not just compassion for those that are in my political party, or those that look like me, or those that believe like me. It's we are all one. And so it's such an honor to come together in so many ways. My sister church, Namaste, I still have such ties there, and I love you all. My sister and Bobby, Reverend Bobby and I met in ministerial school. We were in class together for a while. So I'm going to welcome Bobby up, Reverend Bobby and Reverend Dr. Kristen, and let's have a conversation here.
You know, I feel like I'm standing between two pillars. Have you noticed that? Anybody notice that? I mean, it's so interesting how this came together for me, and I know it's different for each one of us. We all have a story. I feel like I've lost my mic, or it's not. How's that? Can you hear me okay? You want me closer. So I met Kimberly in school and immediately connected with her.
Same here.
Immediately connected with her, and we stayed in touch even though she left. I watched her. I have a feeling she watched me too. And had this experience. I had this experience in the world of looking for my own spiritual home, and had a few along the way. I ended up in Namaste as what we call the gap minister. I don't even want to explain that. But while I was there, Kristen and I had never had a conversation before. And so I had reached out to her after I came to Namaste to understand a little bit about the community. I had gone a few times, but was never a member, and had a beautiful conversation with her that after a period of, let's have Namaste's 20th anniversary, Kristen came in and did this amazing gift of a talk to the community that she birthed. And my wife and I, and her wife and her, we became friends. And I'm emotional about that, because then it became this experience right here. And I feel it's you never know how things unfold. And I use that term, that quote of Ernest Holmes, which says that things unfold silently. And we never know how something is going to where it's going to transition to, or how it's going to transition. Even this week, we lost one of our beloved practitioner emeritus that I know these two knew so well. She was an icon at Namaste, and I just honor her today because she was so amazing. So part of the message today, and then I'm going to stop, is we get to let go of experiences that we're having to transition to new experiences, because that's how we grow. And that includes in community. So as we come together, it's never going to be the same. Look what's been happening in the last few months. It is not the same, and it won't be the same. Can I open that it will be beautiful and precious as what Kristen calls community? So what we do in community. So yeah, please.
It could be very dangerous to give me a mic, because I haven't had one in like 5 years, other than a couple of minutes.
It's a little hot up here too.
Yeah. So, first of all, I love my sister, and you who are out in front of me, I think, are really, really blessed to have her as your minister. So I think we ought to just give her some love. And I have also come to absolutely adore Reverend Bobby. And I can't think of, when you birth a community, you want it to be in really good hands when you move on to something else in life. And I feel like Namaste is in really good hands. So thank you for that. Thank you. Now, I want to tell you something really serious. How many of you have a ninja foodie? I see one hand. How many of you have pressure cookers, air fryers, some device like that, a favorite kitchen appliance? We have a ninja foodie, and it is the precious device of our kitchen, and it requires quite a bit of power. So recently, I've, as my retirement project, I've been working on refurbing a van, a Sprinter van, and turning it into a camper van. So of course, the foodie has to go with us, because how else would we cook? Now, to do that requires an incredible amount of power. And so we've been researching solar panels and huge batteries and converters and inverters and all this kind of stuff. One of the things that I discovered was we measured how many watts of power we needed for the Ninja, and then we spec'd out the solar panels. And, the Ninja takes 1,750 watts. I know you're going to remember that because that's really important. And the solar panels we picked out were 480 watts, but they'll charge batteries that'll handle the foodie. And we thought we were set. And then a little more research, and what I discovered was when you hook up 3 solar panels, you have some choices, but most people, to have them be most efficient, put them in series. And what that means is that when you're traveling about, if you have one little twig that covers one little part of one of the solar panels, you don't get 100% of charging power, you get like 30, because it kind of wipes out that whole panel. And so you have to be very careful about how you care for the panels and how you make sure that every single cell is clean and polished and unobstructed. So when I was thinking, and we were talking over, yes, a few beers, about this wonderful theme of we're not really all free until every single one of us is free, I was thinking about my solar panels. Because the truth is, in the web that we live in, we may think today that we are absolutely free. And I feel pretty darn free at this stage of my life. But there is a level and a power of experiencing freedom that I haven't tapped into yet, because we are all not free. And the moment that we begin to understand that, and we realize that our brothers and sisters, no matter what walks of life, that when they are able to step forward and experience all of who they are, that we get to experience all of who we are. And we get to enjoy our ninja. And we get to feast on whatever it is that we put our minds to. And so when I think today about this connection, I am very much aware today of the connection, not just on this beautiful lawn, but of the connection that is in and through our whole world. So that's what's in my heart today. And I have a feeling that when I go back to my van life and the preparation, there will be more lessons, because that's sort of the way it works. We get fed and we get continued 2x4s, as I love to say, until we understand what this beautiful universe is trying to guide us to understand. Thanks.
I knew she was going somewhere with that metaphor. I have a quote I'd like to read that speaks to what Kristen just talked about. It's from Martin Luther King in his letter from Birmingham jail on April 16th, 1963. He said this: "Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly."
You know that both of what you've said, there's a book that we're reading this month about Mandela's leadership. And he says that when conditions change, you must change your strategy and change your mind. And I think about how this COVID has come up, and then some of the marches that have shown up, and it keeps inviting me to consider my part in all of it. What Kimberly talked about earlier is the idea of Sangha really invites me to consider others, not just myself, but others. So even as we're walking around and I see folks wearing masks, and I see separated in a sense, or distanced in a sense, physically distanced in a way that is not just about myself, but it's about others. The city of Long Beach was kind of hit hard downtown right near our center when the marches started. And when we came together the day after, there were thousands of people in downtown Long Beach. Our center had been tagged and already cleaned up by 7 a.m. And people were helping store owners put their stores back. And we were sweeping up and we were cleaning up, and it was one of the most amazing experiences that I had been involved in. And at the same time, it invites me to consider where my own biases are. Where am I blind to the fact that freedom in my own life is not experienced in an infinite way, but it's also experienced differently for others. It exposes my own bias. It allows me to, as I was walking around, there was just such an intentional way that people were greeting one another. So the invitation in such a big way was to be so intentional with what I say, back to what I think, to how I act in the world, that everything I do actually matters, which goes back to being how precious each one of us are. And that, when we forget that, then we're actually contributing to bondage rather than freedom.
You know, Facebook is a pretty powerful medium. And I got a lesson from my sister this week. She had read a comment that somebody had made on another comment of another comment of another comment of another comment. And it was from someone that she knew in the past, briefly. And it wasn't the kind of comment that I would say gave me warm and fuzzies. It felt like it was off. It had a tone of judgment, and it just didn't feel right. And I know that at this moment in my life, I know I can't save the world. And so there's part of me at times that wants to just unfriend and let it go. And that's okay if that's the best I can do right now. It really, truly is, because certainly we would all, I think, agree it's better than engaging and escalating. But my sister took the time to center herself and respond to that comment, not in a teaching judgmental way, but in a call to another possibility way. And I think to do that, we have to be able to let go of whether or not in our mind that person gets it at that moment or not. And so again, I think it's okay to just turn away if that's what we need to do at the time. And yet, if there are times that we're able to turn towards and bring the love and the truth and the compassion to that discord, then perhaps then we're really a healing agent. So thank you, Kimberly, for that reminder.
Thank you, sister. You've taught me so much. I feel called to share a little story that's appropriate here. Yeah, I have the mic now. You're cut off. I heard it from Tara Brach, but it's a story some of you may have heard, and it speaks to listening versus being. Anybody here ever feel righteous in recent weeks? Like righteously indignant? Yeah, come on. I know there are more. Yeah. So listen to this story. It's not a true story, but I think it's a great teaching story. It involves a U.S. aircraft carrier off the coast of Canada. Their radar is picking up a ship nearby, and they're on a collision course. So the U.S. ship radars or radio signals the other ship, please divert your course 5 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. The Canadian reply, recommend you divert your course 15 degrees to the south to avoid a collision. U.S. ship, this is the captain of a U.S. Navy ship. I say again, divert your course. Canadian reply, no, I say again, divert your course. U.S. ship, this is the aircraft carrier USS Coral Sea. We are a large warship of the U.S. Navy. Divert your course now. Canadian reply, this is a lighthouse. Your call. I take it as a personal message to just be a little careful about my judgments and my assumptions and my righteous indignation, and a little more listening might go a long way to averting disaster.
Yeah. I love that story. You know, I have this relationship with my father, and if he's watching, hi, Dad. And we have very opposing views, or we did. So we did. And I realized from my sister a number of years ago, because that's what happens in families. Aren't they our greatest teachers, right? These two. We had opposing views. It doesn't mean we have to be opposed to one another. It doesn't mean we have to be opposed to one another. I keep losing my mic. I know. So what I keep finding out is that I keep asking others to change so that I'm comfortable. It doesn't work. Because they're asking me to do the same thing. So what I've heard from my family is that they have found that they are loved most often by me when I stop judging them and what experience and opinion they should have. And so, can I let go of being right? Can I let go that there is only one way? Can I let go that if it's not my way, that it won't unfold in the way that it should? It comes back to Ernest Holmes saying, silently unfolding. So the practice I'm having on social media and anything else is this idea of Sangha I'm going to come back to again, which is, and something that Kristen brought to Namaste, can I see the face of God in everyone? And remember, that's what's first. That's what's first. Because if I continue to see another person as the other, judging them to be less than because they're not, you know, walking my path, then I'm missing the point of having this experience of freedom, of peace, of joy. So with my father, we can have differing point of views, not opposing views, and still look at each other and have that engagement and be with each other in a way that's love, so that I can contribute. So I get to focus on me, contribute to a world that works for everyone, and be a beneficial presence.
Thanks, Rev. We seem to be going down the line here, so I just want to add one piece, I think, perhaps. It strikes me that most of my life I thought that there was a right and a wrong. And because of that, if I was very clear that I had the right, then I would do everything I could to be a beneficial presence to the other person and convince them that I had the right. In a very loving way. And sometimes in a not so loving way. But you know, the truth is, if we believe that there is a presence and a power that is absolute blissful intelligence, then our job is truly to get out of the way so that we can allow that wisdom to flow through ourselves and our friends and our family. And I keep having this image of a clogged up strainer. You know, do you try to force the water through the clogged up strainer, or do you sort of reverse the flow and let it unclog itself? Because the truth is, Even the clog has some wisdom in it. The clog allows the water to back up so that it pushes back up into the sink so that, guess what? The stuff that was clogging moves aside. And left to its own devices, it will clear itself. So what a relief that is to kind of go, wow, I guess I really truly can let go of my idea of a right and a wrong, or that I have to be the conduit for that. And instead, I can turn my attention to being a loving presence that allows whatever is happening in another person's experience to be their experience, knowing that they too will be guided, just as each and every one of us are, to clear off whatever it is that's blocking them. It's clearly time for me to stop because the mic's coming over.
Thank you, Kristen. So I'm coming back to this idea of oneness, you know, really the core teaching in our Science of Mind philosophy. Kristen's teaching that we're precious and awesome, and that in Sangha, it is our job to remind each other. We say that often about our practitioners. They're here to remind us of the truth of who we are, especially when we forget. I love this little phrase from the poet Mary Oliver. She said, "Every day I was surrounded by the beautiful crying forth of the ideas of God, one of which was you, and you, and you, and all of us." I'm thinking about our collaboration with Northwest Seasonal Workers Association, an organization that really believes everybody should have a chance at happiness and prosperity. And I'm reminded of a little story about an African tribe. An anthropologist was visiting, some of you may have heard this, and devised a little game proposed to the children in this African tribe. He put a basket up front and invited the children to race to the basket, and the first one to reach it would get all the fruit and get to eat all the fruit. And here's what happened. When he told them to run, they took each other's hands and ran together. And then they sat together enjoying the fruit. When asked why they ran like that, as one could have taken all the fruit for herself, they said, Ubuntu. How can one of us be happy if all the others are sad?
Yeah.
And I don't know, is that a place to stop, or do we have more time?
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Prayer time. Prayer time. I love prayer time. These guys asked me yesterday who wanted to do the prayer, and I went, I do.
She still knows how to do it.
So,
Yeah, but you knocked us over when you did that. You kind of ran through and said, I'll do it.
we have a
So it's like,
video of
you
this
know.
actually in the backyard. So I'm going to invite us to, I used to say, take our collective deep breath together. What I know as we do this prayer together today is that it may be my words, but more importantly, it's our hearts that come together in a recognition and in a feeling of the truth of our beings. When I speak those words, I can feel the goosebumps even in this warm weather. Because truly, there is one power and one life. And it has so many different faces. And I relish and I bask in those faces because each and every one is the individualized expression of that one life. When I remember this truth, I know too that that fabric that we speak of connects each and every one of us in ways that we cannot imagine, in blissful ways that we experience the power of the full panel to illumine our lives and give us that which we seek, to provide, to protect, to share its wisdom, to flow through each and every one of us, its love, its compassion, and its power. And I'm reminded as well that with that power and that fabric comes the possibility of our individual choices to either suppress or to allow. And so today, my prayer is that each and every one of us, in ways that we cannot even imagine, are allowing the beauty, the grace, and the love of God to flow through us, to flow through our neighbors, to flow through those that we don't even know, but with our consciousness that we set free. We are truly blessed, each and every one of us. And so it is. Amen.
So it is.
This is a song by Michael Stillwater. I heard it 40 years ago. Hopefully I remember it correctly.
Thank you. Anton, Mizrak, and Laura Berryhill. Thank you so much for being here. We've protected the keyboard from the sun because when it gets hot, it doesn't play. but we made it through. So it's a time in our service now where we speak about another spiritual practice called sacred giving. And I want to thank, on behalf of me and Reverend Bobby, all of you who have continued to support our centers during this time of COVID when we haven't been able to meet in person. And we're going to invite you to give as you are able. The slides will come up for our two respective communities about how to do that. Here at the park, there is a table as you entered up on the hill, and there's a basket there. Rather than passing a basket, you can leave a donation there. Or, of course, there are many ways to give. But I'm going to ask you to take your gift in your mind's heart, if you will. Place it over your heart. And let's say together, divine love as me.
Divine love as me.
Blesses and multiplies.
Blesses and multiplies.
All that I am.
All that I am.
All that I have.
All that I have.
And all that I choose to circulate.
And all that I choose to circulate.
As the Bible says, press down. We're going to do this. Shaken together and running over. Reverend Bobby.
So, at Namaste in Long Beach, there's a couple things I just want to express our gratitude for. One is the beautiful hospitality of Rogue Valley CSL. And I know Namaste looks at this community as kind of like a cousin, and in gratitude for giving. I know that as we give to our centers, what we're saying is we're giving to our community that is us. This is the place that I'm spiritually fed, no matter what role I have. And therefore, I tithe to that place and I give to that place. And by doing so, I grow in my understanding and recognition of the abundance that is my life. And for those in Namaste, just as you just saw, I'm sure you probably just mirrored what Reverend Kimberly did. The gift that we give is the gift we give to ourselves. It is part of our spiritual practice. It allows us to grow into a greater understanding of the divine nature of who we are. So at Namaste, ways in which we give are on Give Plus. I know that there's a slide up way down in Long Beach, by the way. We do it with PayPal, we do it with Venmo, we do it a host of ways, but we do it in a way that I must say so gratefully that Namaste, built and birthed by this amazing woman, continues to support its community, because community, Sangha, the idea of Namaste continues to grow and continues to be what it was meant to be. It evolves, it transitions, and the experience continues to change, but the bones of the community remain. And so in that gratitude for that gift, I just say, thank you, God. And so it is.
And so it is. So thank you all so much for being here. Thank you for joining us online, Namasters and CSL RVers. I'm going to read a final little prayer as our blessing, then we'll have
Can
our
I say one thing,
closing song.
Kimberly?
Yes, yes.
Can I interrupt you? Only because I just want to know we're sending someone your way. Namaste is sending someone your way. Deborah Bongard, for those of you that know, and Diane Abshire are moving up here to Oregon.
Yeah.
And we're sending them your way.
Oh, and we will gratefully claim them. But they're moving to Portland, not Rogue Valley.
But they plan on attending, I've heard.
All right.
So I just want to say that, and I want to thank Deborah for doing our meditation today, Nikki for doing our streaming today, and I'm going to turn it back over to Rogue Valley. And thank you for being so beautiful to us today.
Thanks for being here, Bobby and Kristen. Yeah, Revs. Woo! So here's a little prayer by Diane Ackerman that I think is apropos for what we've been talking about. In the name of the daybreak and the eyelids of morning and the wayfaring moon and the night when it departs, I swear I will not dishonor my soul with hatred, but offer myself humbly as a guardian of nature, as a healer of misery, as a messenger of wonder, as an architect of peace. In the name of the sun and its mirrors and the day that embraces it and the cloud veils drawn over it and the uttermost night and the male and the female and the plants bursting with seed and the crowning seasons of the firefly and the apple, I will honor all life, wherever and whatever form it may dwell, on earth my home, and in the mansion of the stars. Namaste.
Song by Ricky Byers. I usually play harmonica with her on this. I get to do double duty today.
There was a time in my life when I thought I had to do it all by myself. I didn't know the grace of God was sufficient. I didn't know the love of God was at hand. But now I can say, if you are discouraged, struggling just to make it through another day, you got to let it all go. Let it all go. And this is what you have to say. I release and I let go. I let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm always here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God.
Clap your hands.
I release and I let go. Let the Spirit run my life, and my heart is open wide. Yes, I'm only here for God. No more struggle, no more strife. With my faith I see the light. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I've been free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. I am free in the Spirit. Yes, I'm only here for God. Woo! All right, my friends, stay safe, stay well, be love. Goodbye. Hello until next time.
Yes. Yes. Namaste.
Namaste, y'all, and all y'all.
Great week. You're up again. I know, she told me to.